Hello, how we doing tonight? How we doing? Hello. Now I can't see you, but you can see me, I hope. Checking the microphone, everything good. All right. Wow, that gets quiet. Wow, what a great crowd. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 18th Annual Eugene J. McCarthy Lecture. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Matt Lindstrom, and I have the great privilege of directing the Eugene McCarthy Center for Public Policy and Civic Engagement and serving as the Ed Henry Professor of Political Science. I'd like to start tonight's program with a land acknowledgement. Both the College of St. Benedict and St. John's University occupy the original homelands of the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples. We honor, respect, and acknowledge the indigenous peoples forcibly removed from this territory, whose connection remains today. St. Benedict's Monastery and St. John's Abbey previously operated boarding schools for Native children. Now, students, faculty, and staff are working to repair relations with our Native Nation neighbors. You'll hear more about that later this year, actually. In 2006, Catherine and Dan Whalen's donation created the Eugene McCarthy Center, and we're forever grateful for their support. And as director of the center, I see the continued impact of their generosity every single day in this community. And for the past 18 years, this program, the McCarthy Lecture, and the McCarthy Center have featured distinguished speakers from across various professions and ideological backgrounds. Tonight, though, you are part of a historic event. We're deeply honored to welcome John Inazu, Tane Danger, and the cast of Theater of Public Policy. Since the center was launched, we've set out to increase and empower undergraduate civic involvement through diverse partnerships and programs and build upon the rich legacy of St. Ben's and St. John's grads who serve, volunteer, and lead in a wide variety of civic capacities. And in that context, it is imperative that we draw upon the conscience and courage of St. John's graduate and former United States Senator Eugene McCarthy, who famously stood up to his own party and president in 1968 and ran for president, largely to protest Lyndon Johnson's support of the Vietnam War. McCarthy was a poet, professor, and politician. And his work, his life and legacy inspired millions of people, especially young people, to get involved and lead with the courage of their convictions. It is in these times of uncertainty and waning trust in democratic institutions that our work couldn't be more important. And we will continue to educate and support students to pursue the larger common good on and off campus. And in conclusion, the success of tonight's event involves many people. Indeed, many folks played big roles, especially Anastasia Nathy and the student coordinators in the McCarthy Center and the theater staff here, and frankly, all of you make this evening a very, very special night. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate that. Next, I'd like to call up and welcome St. Ben's and St. John's President Brian Brees, say a few words of welcome, and then he's going to turn it over to St. Ben's student Charlotte Whiting, who will introduce the program, and we'll have a lot of learning and a lot of laughing. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the annual McCarthy Lecture. We are so blessed to have a full auditorium, lots of excitement and lots of interest. I'd like to welcome all of you, including Leanne Stewart, the chair of our boards of trustees. We have monastics here, monks and sisters. I see many of our esteemed faculty and staff here. Are the students here? And we're ready to roll, and community members. So I'd like to start by just sharing a fun moment from last night when we hosted the first ever Benny, Johnny, Tommy debate at St. Ben's. It felt like a fresh take on an old rivalry with St. Thomas. I know many of you probably remember the Johnny-Tommy rivalry from football field and Benny-Tommy rivalry in basketball, volleyball courts, and softball and soccer fields. Well, this time, instead of competing over touchdowns and points, they were wrestling with ideas, and it was just as lively. The topic of the debate was, is cancel culture limiting free speech in America? Not exactly light fare. You might expect that this would spark some heated arguments, but what happened was something quite different. Instead of the usual back and forth, our students from St. Ben's, St. John's, and St. Thomas, they really took the time to listen to each other. The aim was not to win, but to understand through deep listening, asking good questions, and respectfully challenging assumptions, good, healthy argumentation, and critical thinking. It was a great reminder that even when we disagree, especially when we disagree, there's incredible value in coming together for thoughtful, respectful conversation. It was also exactly what we're aiming for with our Disagreeing Better initiative, creating a space, many spaces, where even the hardest conversations can be handled with empathy and respect. Inspired by Braver Angels and Minnesota's Reduce the Rancor initiative, Disagreeing Better is all about having tough conversations in ways that bring us closer rather than driving us apart. It's an effort rooted in the Benedictine values that guide us: community, humility, and listening with the ear of the heart. It fits so well with why we're here tonight. This lecture series celebrates the legacy, as Matt said, of Eugene McCarthy, someone who never shied away from tough conversations. McCarthy's dedication to democratic self-government, his integrity, and his willingness to challenge the status quo are exactly the kinds of values that we're trying to instill and nurture in our own community right here at St. Ben's and St. John's through our initiative of Disagreeing Better. Tonight, I encourage you to think about all the ways that we can all embrace these principles in our lives, that we can live these principles, and how we can carry these lessons forward into the spheres of influence that we all have. How can we engage those with whom we disagree? How can we listen more deeply and show more empathy and create spaces of meaningful dialogue for the common good? How can we challenge ourselves to have the kinds of conversations that move us toward understanding, even when, especially when it's uncomfortable? We are fortunate to have two remarkable speakers with us tonight to continue this conversation. But first, it's my great privilege to thank you for being here, for your commitment to dialogue, and for embracing this opportunity to build bridges and to understand and know our differences. And I am now honored to welcome Charlotte Whiting, who will be introducing our wonderful speakers. Charlotte is a sophomore from northern Minnesota, political science major and ancient Mediterranean studies minor, a student coordinator in the Eugene McCarthy Center for Public Policy and Civic Engagement. Charlotte also serves as co-president for the International Affairs Club and Model UN Nations team, works as the activities director for CSB and SJU College Democrats, and is the public relations representative for the Political Science Club. She's busy and engaged and active like all Bennies and Johnnies. Please welcome Charlotte to the podium.
Good evening. I would like to welcome you again to the 18th annual Eugene McCarthy Lecture. Our lecture this year is part of a new collaboration called Disagreeing Better at CSB SJU. Disagreeing Better at CSB SJU is an initiative that aims to help students and the wider community learn skills necessary for proactive discussions that transcend our differences. These differences are prominent. We all feel them. We live in a world that has become more and more politically polarized. As we grow closer to the upcoming election, it's hard not to see how different our views may be from one another's. So, let me introduce you to Professor John Inazu. Professor Inazu is a prominent scholar in law and religion, teaching classes at Washington University in St. Louis, such as criminal law, as well as religion and the Constitution. If you have joined us in reading his latest book, Learning to Disagree: The Surprising Path to Navigating Differences with Empathy and Respect, you know that he focuses on how to understand each other in an objective way. He discusses the idea that people with differing beliefs, backgrounds, and morals should be able to live together peacefully without needing to agree on everything. Instead of fueling a heated discussion, take a step back and wonder how your peer came to this conclusion. What makes them think that way? Being able to discuss and debate issues openly and respectfully is crucial for our decision-making and civic responsibilities. A section of learning to disagree that stuck with me personally was at the end of the chapter titled, "Can Anything Be Neutral?" Quote, "Once you have realized how much of the world is not neutral, how much of it is up for grabs, it's natural to want to argue for your view of how things should be. Few of us want to live in a world determined more by the arguments we detest than the arguments we embrace. But persuading others that you have the better account begins by recognizing the biases and judgments implicit in your own views and addressing the best possible counterarguments with charity and clarity. More often than not, if you start with this posture, you will be able to engage with others more effectively and less stridently. Recognizing a lack of neutrality does not mean embracing a lack of nuance." End quote. Don't assume the worst in people, but try to understand them. Lead with empathy and guide with constructive conversations. And yet, we may be in need of more guidance to find this balance. And for more guidance and balance, I'm sure you'll agree that we need improv comedy. That is why we invited Tane Danger and the crew from the Theater of Public Policy. Tane Danger is a graduate of Gustavus Adolphus College and received a Master's of Public Policy from the University of Minnesota's Humphrey School of Public Affairs. You are in for a real treat. The Minnesota Star and Tribune recently described the Theater of Public Policy as similar to watching C-SPAN and having the cast of Saturday Night Live walk on stage. So here's how tonight is going to work. Our two guests will have a conversation on stage, and then the Theater of Public Policy will have an improv sketch followed by more discussion. So please join me in welcoming Professor John Inazu, Tane Danger, and the Theater of Public Policy.
Wow. That was a very good introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm Tane Danger. I am so excited to be here. I had the joy and privilege of being part of this lecture series 10 years ago. And so it's nice to finally be invited back. This is honestly one of the best programs in the state of Minnesota. It is really fantastic to be here, and it is because you all have an amazing community here. You have an amazing student body. You have amazing faculty and staff, and people who really believe in exactly what we're talking about, how to disagree better. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for making time, and thank you so much for making the trip to be our special guest for this conversation.
This is great. I just wanted to say I'm so glad to be here. It's been a fun few days. Thanks for the warm welcome, and I think I especially want to just thank Matt for the invitation. And from what I understand of what the McCarthy Center is trying to do, Senator McCarthy ended his time in the Senate about 6 years before the namesake of my chair, Jack Danforth, joined the Senate. But my sense is, I hold a chair named in honor of Jack Danforth's wife, Sally, and my sense is that Senator Danforth and Senator McCarthy would have partnered together because of some of their common beliefs and the positive value of religion, the importance of compromise, and not being beholden to a party above all else. So it's a real privilege to be here in light of that, and Tane, and meeting you and your crew, super excited for what's to come.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. So you're at Washington University in St. Louis. So we're fellow Midwesterners here.
Midwestern nice.
Midwest, and that was my opening. Was like your book is about learning to disagree and how we disagree better is the notion. What if instead we just never disagree? I don't know, because it seems like we're good at that. Like, what if we just never bring up anything uncomfortable? Have you considered that?
That's a great idea. I mean, yeah, like that would have been an awesome book. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess though, the title of the book is not Achieving Consensus, so it kind of presumes that the disagreement's going to be there. And in light of that, we have the choice either to figure out how to do it well, learning, keeping in an ongoing sense, or I guess your alternative could work, right? We just go our separate ways, stick to our own tribes, or try to gain power at all costs and hope the other side loses. But
I mean, I've had a lot of family dinners that revolve around like the weather for hours.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of the book though is about and there's a part, and we'll get into this, about, trying to prove your point, or trying to, as you talked about, there's a power element, but also a part of it is enrichment of yourself, that actually engaging somebody else with what you believe and hearing more of what they believe is actually part of the human experience, beyond talking about weather and baseball scores.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, part of the Midwestern vibe is we're just going to agree to disagree, which is always a very passive-aggressive statement when it's said. So this is not agreeing to disagree.
You're in the home of passive-aggressive, can I just say? They teach master's classes at the university, yeah.
And we have to get past that. We have to get into the hard work of disagreement. But part of that is recognizing that sometimes it's just okay to talk about the weather.
Yeah.
We don't have to disagree at every conversation. You don't have to do this at Thanksgiving. You don't have to do it at those high-pressure moments. But there should be times when we're moving past the agree to disagree truce.
Right. And actually, there's several things you've already brought up that I wanted to dig into. I mean, one is you have this, you just mentioned this, consensus isn't the goal, right? Which I actually think is it sounds obvious, but yet it's a thing that a lot of folks, and frankly, a lot of institutions sometimes spend a lot of time trying to build consensus. We all walked out of the meeting and we all voted for the same thing. And I think one of the pieces I feel like I took from your book is that's not always good.
Right.
That shouldn't necessarily be the goal of everything that we do.
Yeah, and let me name another not good, which is celebrating all diversity. Right? So no one in this room actually thinks all diversity is good. There are things that we enjoy in differences in the world, different musical tastes, different sports teams, and so forth. But every one of us has views that we strongly hold, and we think the opposing view is destructive, harmful to the society, bad for human flourishing. So we don't actually like all diversity, and nor are we going to achieve consensus given the fact of the differences around us. So the goal is figuring out how to disagree better across our differences without minimizing them or without pretending that we're all going to find the same agreements.
Right. And I mean, we can just pick this apart a little further. I mean, what does that look like, and what is the downside to that sort of push, again, sometimes in trying to create consensus, to try and get everybody, can't we all just agree on X, and where that can sometimes actually be harmful?
Well, let me give you an example from the 1990s. The interfaith movement of the 90s was pretending, at the time it was mostly Christians, Muslims, and Jews, pretending like everyone actually just agreed on the same basic stuff and we'll hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and do a service project. And the reason that didn't really work is that when you got into actual religious difference, so much of it was zero-sum. People held firm convictions about big, huge matters like what happens when you die and how do you be a good person, and they didn't agree. And what I love about the current interfaith moment, which is quite different from the 90s, is people start, I'm thinking of my friend Ibu Patel, for example, in Interfaith America in Chicago, people start by naming the reality of our differences and then naming the kind of tragedy that goes along with that. It's actually not great for the world that we disagree about all these things that matter. And yet, when we name the differences with particularity, we can then do a better job of finding what common ground we have.
You also, you noted that we don't need to do this all the time, right? Which I think is, because that is sometimes the other swing that you happen. And you early in the book, you talk about the free speech warriors, the people who are going to come in and the first thing they're going to do is sort of be for example, I have the right to do X, and so I'm going to purposefully try and sort of upset people or push boundaries, almost to flex that muscle because I can.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the other end to me in some ways, it seems of that pendulum of trying to ignite something that maybe there's no action. Why are you trying to do it?
Yeah, I mean, two things about that. One, there's the don't be a jerk principle can go a long way in the world. And
another good subtitle for the book, right? Yeah.
Thanks. Where were you?
Yeah, I'm going to come in the next one. Yeah.
And it matters not just to being the kind of person you are, but even strategically or pragmatically. If you want to persuade someone of the better argument that you have, insulting them or being vitriolic is seldom going to win the day. And the other thing, and this is more of just a human point, but no one needs to be arguing all of the time. Right. And everybody should have places they can go just to be normal and to relax. I tell my students, I love my students, and you're not welcome in my living room, right? Because I need time to be with my family and with my people, and then we'll go have a conversation. So I think sometimes in the college scene especially, we over-politicize what's going on, and we forget that the people here walking these halls and moving across these buildings are human beings who are complex, need rest, sometimes need to be challenged, sometimes need a break.
And so what advice do you have for creating that kind of a boundary, whether for yourself or like as an institution? Because it sounds good, but it also, I mean, we've all got like something in our pocket probably now that is literally like shouting at us constantly, like, pay attention to this, like, be mad about this. And for that matter, you could be looking at screens and posters, and people could be saying, so like, how do you create that I don't know, distance or respite from that?
I mean, this was like leading the witness, right? You just kind of gave me the answer. Minimize the devices, minimize the screens, look for 3D interactions with real human beings where you're going to get so much more texture about nonverbal cues, and when, make eye contact and figure out when someone's being annoyed with what you're saying and try to think forward about this. And then I think the other thing maybe institutionally is practice basic social skills, right? You don't have to, like if you're a teacher, you don't need every minute of classroom time to make your point. Spend some time with icebreaker questions and that sort of thing, and remember that, I like that. Yeah, see, it's kind of normal, right? And here's the thing I think I say in the book, and these are my people, but professors were pretty much high on ego and low on social skills. So
wow.
You have to like work.
I'm glad you said it and not me. Yeah.
I mean, yes. So you have to like work with what you got, but you give your professors improv training and get them to be like a little more normal in the social interactions, because they are your institutional players who are going to be there year in and year out.
I want to dig more into the weirdness of professors, but
How much time do we have?
But let's say I'm gonna detour for both our sake, and ask you're also a lawyer. You spent a long time as a lawyer, and like a part of the philosophy of the book, or part of the experience that you bring, is that legal training and thinking like a lawyer is actually part of like what you bring to this. I don't know, like lawyers don't have the best reputation. Like most people. I like, if I was like, hey, I'm going to have a dinner party full of lawyers, like, I don't know if everyone would come, but you think that actually that this is good. So defend yourself, counsel.
Yeah, right. I mean, one review of my book started by saying the guy is a professor and a lawyer, what's not to hate, right? So, I mean, I get it. And lawyers do have a not entirely unearned reputation of being the people who argue the most, who are the most stubborn. But the case I'm trying to make here, and for all of you, is that actually lawyering at its best is pretty fundamental to this whole disagreement thing, because the best lawyers take the time to understand not the weak side of the other side, but the best version of the other side's argument. And that is itself a work of empathy. You can only know in detail and throughout the other argument if you've somehow been able to step in the other person's shoes. Maybe that's your opposing counsel, maybe that's the judge. But if you go into a courtroom and say, they're stupid and we're right, they're evil and we're the best, you're never going to win an argument. The lawyer skill is to say, this is a really hard issue. People have different views. You're going to hear a great argument over here, and I've got a better one. And that's how you persuade people of the better value of your position. And it doesn't mean that it's science, or it doesn't mean it's black and white, but it's you're arguing about human things that are a combination of facts, emotions, beliefs, and policies, and you're trying to tell other human beings, here's why you should listen to me.
I buy this so much, like, and just again, if like your goal is to actually try and convince someone else, again, there's a piece in the book you talk about like you do yourself no favors by sort of caricaturing like your opponents, right? Like that antagonizes them and turns them into like they're never going to listen to you, and so I buy that and I get that, and then I'm just confused like why so much of our discourse feels like that's what it's doing, right? Yeah. Like that whether again you're like looking at social media, you're watching a lot of like cable news television, you're watching like national politics, like so much of it, like especially like national politics, it feels like there is literally nothing of value on the other side. Like they are like clowns and fools, and anybody who agrees with them are clowns and fools. And like if you buy any piece of what they're selling, like you're terrible, and that's where you start from. And so And again, to me, I will just put my cards on the table. That feels counterproductive. But then how did we get to that place, I guess, is the question, if it doesn't work?
I mean, so much of discourse in politics has become performance. And sometimes performance is a really good thing, right? We need it in life. But we don't need it for complex arguments that take time to be unpacked. I mean, most of law is really, really boring. Most of law is sitting down and thinking hard and writing and rewriting and coming up with nuance and losing your adverbs. And it's not performative. And social media and our political stage right now is entirely about the soundbite, the gotcha moment, the snark, the desire to cancel someone else. That's not how you actually solve complex problems. That's how you hit the adrenaline button, make yourself feel better, and shame the other side.
I mean, yeah, just to push you on this, like, do you feel like that would work? Like, you know, we just went through like a presidential debate. And whether you could believe either of these people doing it or not, do you believe that it actually would have been effective for either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump to say, you know what, my opponent's got a point about this, and I would do it slightly differently, but they're actually kind of right about this. Like, would that actually have been effective in a political context?
It's hard. It's so hard to imagine that possibility that I can't even really speculate. But here's an alternative. You know, rather than have the performative debate, maybe you give them each 10 questions, like interrogatories, and say, write answers to these questions. Have a neutral moderator give the questions, and then let us think through the pros and cons of the answers they give, where they can't hedge and they can't do the gotchas. They've got to commit, you know, to hard questions that divide the country, and then we can all use our brains to think about it as opposed to react to, you know, facial expressions and repetition and things like that.
You brought this up, and it's one of the themes over and over and over again in your book is empathy. That empathy is kind of like the central skill, and it is important for making the human connection, but it's also, as you say, like necessary to be able to understand your opponent or the other person's like point of view, depending on what you're talking about or where you're sitting. How do you think about like building that muscle of empathy, like practicing that and getting better at it?
I mean, you can't read a book and learn empathy. I mean, try, but you can't
Yes,
read
please
a book.
buy. He's going to be signing books after this, so please get your copy.
You can't read a book. You can only do this by practicing with other actual human beings. And that means you're going to screw up too. So part of learning empathy is learning where you get it wrong, and it's watching people respond, and it's realizing, oh, what worked as a connection point for this person doesn't actually work for this person, even though in my mind I see them as the same, right? They share this identity characteristic, or I thought they had the same viewpoint, but actually, like all human beings, they're complex individuals. So you learn empathy one person at a time, one story at a time, and with practice, and there's no shortcut to that. And then I think a super important related point is don't overdo the empathy thing. You got to realize there are limits to empathy. So the goal is to try as hard as you can to understand, and then at the same time to realize I am actually not going fully to be able to know what it was like to be raised in those circumstances or go through the world with this particular set of eyes, because that's not me. But I can begin to connect on a human level and find our common ground when I try to learn something about you.
The other skill that I'm curious about how you practice is finding sort of like the space inside yourself to I don't know if it's brave or what the word is, but to feel safe or comfortable being able to share your own story. Like that seems like a part of it as well. Because I think that, you know, there's a lot of folks here, you know, at different times in my life, myself included. You even, I think, have examples in your own book where it's sort of like there are times where you're like, I have something to contribute here, but either because of circumstances or because of where I'm at, right, I'm not going to. And you make a lot of space for, you know, like creating it. You don't have to always do that. But then, you know, we can also all fall into a habit of just like, well, I'd just rather not say anything ever, going back to sort of talking about the weather. And so how do you practice that?
I mean, this is not generalizable. Some people need to learn how to talk less. And
Is that a thing with me?
And some people need courage to speak up more, to be reminded and encouraged that, no, I actually do have something to contribute. Without my voice in this discussion, the people around me will be impoverished. And so you can, even if you don't want to make it about yourself, you can think, this room needs my perspective, and this conversation is not going to go the same way without it. So to have the courage to speak at times. But then I think the other thing about this and summoning courage is to realize that we are all frail and imperfect human beings, and that, everybody likes to tell the good success story of things we've accomplished, but all of us are also failure stories. And if you begin to see yourself as too much of a failure story, just know that that's true of everyone around you as well. And then for those of us who are maybe a little too polished and a little too unwilling to show our own vulnerability or authenticity, I think especially if you're around younger people today, they don't want the performance.
Yes.
They want authenticity, and they want reality, and they want real vulnerability, not the performative vulnerability. And that just takes trust building and time and a little bit of risk.
I mean, I know that this is a double-edged sword, but I am going to just say, and not just to play to the audience, like, this is a tremendous thing that I feel like is a gift of like a younger generation that's coming up, is this emphasis and like compassion and care for like authenticity, that is something that is valued in a way that I'll just say, like, I mean, myself, and I'm guessing you, like, we came up more in a time when there was much more emphasis on like, oh, if you are going to like put on the mask and like be sort of the way that sort of like the expectation is like that you are supposed to be like in some of these spaces, and it was a, you could argue it's a different kind of performance, but it created a lot less space for people to share some of that vulnerability or flaws and whatnot, which probably made it a lot harder to then connect.
Yeah, or like, I mean, I think probably our parents' generation wasn't big into counseling.
No, yeah.
And now, like, it's okay, it's a thing,
Yeah.
and it actually helps us in lots of ways.
This is a total, I don't know, like, I'll tell this, and then my parents are going to watch this like live stream later, but yeah, like, I've gone to therapy, and I'll just, I can distinctly remember my parents being like, well, he's talking to someone. Like, it's kind of like, just sort of, oh, that's fine. Like, very Midwestern kind of that way. Like, exactly. And, but it's like a difference of generation thing, I think, that way.
Yes. All of the characters in my book, except for my family, are composites, but the last character in the book, Lillian the barista, is named after my marriage counselor. So there's a little Easter egg in there.
Actually, that brings me back to one of the other things that you talk about in the book, and it goes to this like creating spaces for ourselves. You have a thing where you make pretty clear, you're like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting with family when you are trying to do difficult conversations. You even you say like, probably you're thinking Thanksgiving is the time to like be like, hey everybody, like, here's what I really think on X, and your advice is like, actually, like, that's like the thesis level class for this, like, start somewhere else. But
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Thanksgiving, do the weather, do football, do memories, and so you've got to like just think about, again, as normal human beings, the stakes are already high at Thanksgiving. Someone has put a lot of time into this event, and there are all these expectations. So why in the world would you bring up the hard political issue then? Right? If you really care about these people, find another different, less high stakes time to have a conversation, and then go into it with a full tank. Go into it rested and emotionally healthy and ready to have a conversation where you can anticipate that relative or that other person is going to say something offensive or off-putting, and instead of just reacting to it, you can say, you know what, I'm ready for this conversation. I'm going to listen, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. But if you try to do that at Thanksgiving with, like all the aunts and uncles coming in, it's going to be a disaster. So just like, this is a freebie. Do not have this conversation at Thanksgiving.
You get into both, we've been talking a lot about sort of the interpersonal piece, but you get into talking about this on more institutional levels, particularly for a college campus, which obviously is where you work. And I think one of the interesting things you talk about, you talk some about like the challenge of like a speech code, or like how you would possibly do something like that. And then you kind of get into this piece about like, we can get really focused on procedure and like procedural fairness, and yet that can distract us from like what we're actually trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes procedure is all you've got, and maybe nationally right now we should really focus on process and procedure. At other times, and I think the highest and best is when you can actually move to the substance that's positioned by your values. What is your mission? What do you care about? What's your purpose? I actually think, just even spending a couple of days here, you have the outline of a purpose and a vision. You have a Benedictine tradition. You can draw from specific singular aspects that can call you to a common community. It's very difficult for a lot of institutions today to say what they're about, other than things like being excellent, right? Or trying to be like world class or whatever these things mean. They're just vacuous terms. And really what it means in practice is we're just trying to like beat our pure institutions and get their students. But that's not much of a exciting vision. So if you can be particularized in what your values are and focus on the substance, then you can begin to build trust that can go beyond process. And you can say, you know what, we're going to have this very hard conversation over a period of months, and we do disagree about it, but we're called to a certain set of values and a common respect for each other. And everybody who's here is here because they've agreed to the rules of the game. So you can't say you don't belong here, even though I don't like your viewpoint. You have to say we're in this together. And that starts with purpose, mission, values, community.
And this will be the last piece, and we're going to come back in the second half of the show and do some questions that we've already gotten from some students and faculty and things like that. But you've teed this up really well. I mean, this institution is the first event embarking on an endeavor to do just that, to try and disagree better. And so, would there be something that you would just share here, like thoughts or advice on like how to go into that work and try and make it as productive as possible?
I think the biggest piece of advice is just be aware of the privilege that you already have built into an institution like this. You get to walk alongside people who are very different than you are for 13, 14 weeks at a time in small settings where you get to come together and read hard texts and have a discussion, and then you get to leave and you get to be by yourself with your friends or think about it more, and then you get to come back, and with each iterative leaving and coming, there's a little more trust building, a little more of an ongoing conversation, and then 10, 11 weeks in, you can begin to have some real conversations over things that matter that is just not possible if you're going to like a day of dialogue or, a day of politics. That when you're in a room with complete strangers, you can only go so deep and so far. When you can do this with people over a sustained period of time with breaks and reflection, then you have a real opportunity.
On that note, can you all please join me in doing a big round of applause? John and Inazu. This is great. We're gonna take our seats. So what's gonna happen is John and I are gonna take off the stage, and then I'm gonna turn it over to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy from Danger Boat. And what's going to happen is they've obviously been listening along with all of you, and they're going to turn this into entirely unscripted improv comedy. So everything they do is entirely made up. I can't stress this enough. It is entirely off the top of their heads, just inspired by the same things that you all heard. Nothing's pre-planned. This is all happening in the moment. So please be generous and make a big round of applause as we get started with a special Theater of Public Policy.
Johnsons, they never talk. They never ask questions, nothing.
It seems great over there.
They don't even make eye contact.
It's like that saying, keeping up with the Joneses. I want to keep up with the Johnsons.
Look, hear me out. You remember that time you were working like 3 jobs and
Yeah.
trying to put yourself through college and you
hard.
just couldn't handle it, right?
No, I couldn't.
Too much. Who did you call?
You?
Who did you call?
You?
Who did you call? Me. Now just imagine.
You asked me the same question 3 times.
I know because I just wanted you to understand.
I don't like all these questions.
I was there for you. I was there for you because you talked to me. I was there for you because you were telling me what was going on. Now, had you not told me, I wouldn't have been able to ask Mom and Dad for money to give it to you like it was. I didn't tell you that part. Look. Hey,
I'm gonna move in with the Johnsons.
No.
Where we just talk about meatloaf
hi.
and TV. Hi, Mr.
Or
Johnson.
anything else.
How you doing?
You know what?
Oh, you guys look like you're having a little bit of a thing here.
Exactly, and I don't do things.
Oh,
I'm from Minnesota.
you know,
Just keep it.
we're making a little bit of meatloaf over here.
I want to ask about the meatloaf.
It's wonderful.
Exactly.
Well, we could also talk about, well, this gets a little bit dicey,
Uh-oh.
but I hear there might be rain tomorrow. Yeah.
See, look, they can have hard conversations.
There's nothing hard. It's rain. Hey, Mr. Johnson.
Hi, how are you?
Wow. Hey, your car the other day, last week, I saw there was somebody slashed your tires.
Oh, that's
And then I think
wow.
a tow truck come out. Like, how does that
Well,
working
yeah,
out? Like,
that was really different. Yeah.
See, listen.
you need some support.
Welcome to the first day of class. My name is Mr. Wesley, and this summer I learned to kill my ego.
Whoa.
Yes.
That sounds intense.
It really was. So now I have no ego and only social skills.
Wow.
Notice how I lean on this desk.
Whoa,
So jaunty, so cool.
you're so relatable.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Yeah. You can also sit on my desk. It's a long desk.
Wow, this is great. I mean,
Hey, looking good, Kyle.
Thank you. Thank you.
they noticed a change.
I know.
You really are different.
That's my dean.
You have a relationship like that with your gene?
I do.
Oh,
Because I
man.
want to kill my ego.
Well, should I kill my ego too?
I don't know. Do you want to connect with the youth?
I am the youth.
Or are you connecting with yourself?
No.
Here, look in this mirror. Yeah,
I don't like what I see.
I know. You know what you can do?
What?
Change your face!
Ah! It worked.
Did. Now take this mirror and throw it.
Ah. Uh-oh.
Hey, somebody. Hey, David.
Hey.
You're looking, I don't know, different today.
Little jaunty.
Something like that. Good to. Oh, glass. No worries.
It worked.
I know, the dean knows your name!
Oh, I was so cool then. That worked.
And I'm a better teacher because of it.
You are.
Maybe if other teachers also learn to kill their ego,
Yeah?
they can connect with their youth, and then they can also have long, impactful relationships with their students, but in like a respectful, healthy way, and not like in a creepy way.
That second part sounds very important.
Yes.
Okay, so with empathy, you got to take it one person at a time, and you won't know all of empathy until you know all of the people.
All right, well, I'm going to start with you. Hi.
Hi,
I have empathy for you.
I have empathy for you.
Okay.
We did that. Okay, check.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we got one empathy.
All right.
Got one. Okay, there's someone. Hi,
Hi.
I have empathy for you.
I have empathy for you.
Oh my God. No,
empathy.
My stomach. Your stomach's hurt too.
Yes, my stomach hurts.
My stomach hurts.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
my
yeah,
empathy
yeah.
hurts.
No, that's not. You're just taking on my feelings. That's not. No. Okay.
Oh.
No, you've had a. No. I think maybe like. Can I get some like comfort or something? You know what it feels like.
Oh, it hurts.
Okay. Oh God. No, I just
we
meant.
should sit. We should.
No. Guys, you just. I'm so sorry. I like it really hurts. I know.
It really hurts. I empathize.
No.
Wait.
Somebody
I
help.
think she's really in pain.
Oh, it's not just empathy?
Oh.
No.
You're not having empathy for us?
I know. I could.
Oh.
No. I could have empathy for you. My stomach hurts, and I just.
Oh.
If I could just. If you could just.
When my stomach
understand.
hurts, I usually have eaten a lot of cheese.
No, that's about you. That's about you.
Oh, that's about me. Okay.
Wait. What's wrong?
That's a good question. I hadn't. I really wish I could get an answer. I hurt.
Okay.
Another follow-up question.
Thank you.
Is it, a doctor? Is a doctor needed?
I don't know. Maybe just like a solid conversation, or it could just be anxiety pains. I had dairy, forgot my lactate.
Wait.
I get
Um,
empathy. I know that experience.
I think I heard something.
What?
I think I heard her say she would like to have a real conversation.
You're listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me what's on your mind?
My stomach?
Oh.
Okay.
Do you have any more specific questions?
Yes, yes.
Tell me about how old your stomach might be.
Stupid.
I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
You're going to do great in this debate. I thought, what if we just went out there and agreed on something?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah?
Let's be honest, our politics aren't actually that different.
No, I mean, it just.
2 minutes to air. 2
Okay.
minutes. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are really getting into it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this
Okay.
person.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
terrible.
Okay. Great.
This is
Great.
exhausting.
I know.
Ever since they started televising politics, all they want us to do is fight.
I know, but we agree on so many different levels.
I know, but shh, they can't know. The general American public can't know.
We can just give them a taste.
I know. But are they ready for it?
Just a taste. Thank you, Five.
Thank you. Wait, we went from 2 to 5?
Oh, no.
We have more minutes?
Oh. I think 2 is correct.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was a channel 5 that you're on. You've got about 30 seconds to air. He said that you are a moron, and he insulted your family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look, you know I love you, right?
I do.
Yeah.
But we can't.
We can't.
Not out there.
No.
In front of them.
They can't know.
No.
All right.
All right, we're on in 5, 4, 3. You're on.
All right, I'm speaking, okay? And I just want you to know that you're a big meanie, no matter how good your hair looks today.
I just want to say that I can't stand the lack of values by my candidates. Sure, they're handsome and good looking, but their issues are awful.
I would like to rebut that from the charming gentleman to my right. You're wrong.
I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it in front of all these
They
things.
need us to fight. What else will they argue with their parents about?
Hey, camera 1, are you getting this on the mic? Make sure the mics are turned down here. They're
can argue
being
about
nice to
regular
each other.
Oh, I thought that was backstage speak of their
No,
assistants.
I think
Oh.
this is going out live.
They can
Oh.
talk about how
Oh,
great
this
it
is
is that
boring.
there are 2 candidates from different parties that love each other, that have a connection
I've always had that connection.
that only 2 candidates who spend most of their weekends talking to retirement homes could understand.
And maybe those 2 candidates, or one of them, has thought about moving to Vermont a little differently.
Vermont?
Vermont.
Vermont has
I
very
love the
few
leaves this
electoral
time of
votes.
year.
I do too. And I know I was critical about it earlier, but it's because I was scared. And I'm not scared anymore.
Oh, this is incredible. This is trending.
Oh, well, why wouldn't it be? I mean, it's new, even if
It
it's
is.
boring.
It is.
Is it trending? Hashtag boring.
Do you hear that? Our love has brought music.
I do. It's so romantic. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience and of my district, I'm resigning my candidacy to pursue better things.
I'm not.
Wait! Wait!
Someone's gotta win.
No! We did what happened to Vermont?
Vermont will always be there.
Oh!
But this election is here now.
Oh!
That doesn't change how I feel about you. It just changes my priorities a little bit.
Okay, for my lawyer dissertation, I've prepared a piece from the criminal case of Murphy versus Murphy when there was a car that was stolen. So
Use more adverbs.
thank you. Okay, so here it goes. Hey, Your Honor. Well, welcome to the stage, lawyer. I think that person's a criminal. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Adverbs. Thank you. Am I a lawyer? Did I get the lawyer job? Thank you. Don't I, get something? Like a prize? Oh, you're doing the gavel banging. Oh, you want more? An encore. Okay, I've practiced this. I also majored in theater and lawyering.
Don't forget to be more boring.
Thank you. Oh, I've been reading a lot of books, and I think that this argument is interesting.
Say something that makes everybody mad.
Oh, books are hard to read.
That's something that makes everyone feel related to you.
Oh, everybody else is a criminal, not lawyers.
Bold, we like it.
Thank you. Did I get the part? Please? Oh, that sounds so boring. I don't want to spend time in libraries looking up things, reading very boring pieces of paper. I want to be on Twitter and TikTok and be cool.
Ego. Meditation.
Oh, I get it. You want me to get into wellness lawyering. So everyone, take out your statutes and breathe.
Professor, I'm sorry to bother you at home.
No, it's okay.
Who is this, honey? Is it one of your students?
Oh,
Yeah.
your wife. You've talked about her
Yeah.
in class. He says usually you're right. Anyway, so
I'll call the locksmith in the morning.
So, Professor, listen. I just wanted to talk to you. I really disagreed with what you said in class today, and
Okay.
it just couldn't wait till the next class.
Really? Because it's Thanksgiving.
Oh, that reminds me. I brought a green bean casserole. He said that your turkey's a little dry.
Yeah.
But anyway, I really wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I think that you're really wrong about a lot of the social justice issues we've been talking about in class, and if you just really thought more about what.
Well, can I be honest with you?
Of course, yeah.
I'm probably wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. But I can't let them know that.
Oh.
Look, a lot of people are wrong all the time. Like you breaking into my house on Thanksgiving Day.
Well,
But
you know-
maybe we can look past our wrongdoings.
So you're saying that it's okay to be wrong sometimes, and you know I don't think you're wrong all the time. I just disagreed with you this time.
I'm just saying maybe it's wrong for us to be discussing tough things at Thanksgiving. Maybe we could wait for something like Arbor Day.
Woo, man, I tell you what, daggum. It's just fancy seeing you here.
Well,
I just feel like I keep running into you.
You know what? I
What?
think you and I are the only ones that ever get invited to this party.
Oh, dang, I didn't even think anybody's gonna invite me this time.
Well,
This chair is comfortable.
you and I are here.
We are here, and I just want to tell you, it's not gonna be the same thing as last time. My ego got all insane, and I just had to be right because you know what? I just couldn't let go of my particular perspective or point of view. But I just want to let you know today, I'm just open. I'm not gonna sponge up nothing. I'm just gonna let you say what you're gonna say, and guess what? I'm gonna listen with curiosity.
Hey,
I will not be here just sitting here and be like, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say. I'm not going to do that today. No, sirree. I'm going to listen to all the things that you think are right, all the things that you line up, and I'm going to make room for you to speak, is what I'm going to do.
great, because
I'm going to make room for you to speak by way of creating a capacity. I'm going to check my temper. I know I get a little hot-headed when you say things that they're not, they're inaccurate most of the time. That's okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to let you say that thing.
okay, well,
That you think is important because that is
You gotta
a
shut
part of your
up.
experience and
You
your
gotta wrap it quick. You're
because you and I have
talking
vastly
too much.
different experiences in life.
Try and make it quick.
It's like I come from one
Let
experience. So I have hard
someone
work.
else
You know, I served in the war. You can't relate to that,
Just
but
let someone else talk.
I could, and I just think like
You gotta
I'm trying to
shut
find my sweetness, my sweet,
You
sweet.
gotta keep it
Yeah.
down.
You know, that's sometimes
Other
it's like
people
I gotta
aren't
dig in there for
so happy
empathy.
they're
And
beginning
you
to
know, I had
frown.
this whole thing last year.
You need to
This
be
whole thing last year, I was working
Why?
on grace, you know, just having to
more?
build grace for myself and others. And now I'm
Give
moving into like,
someone else
maybe I could just stand and be a little more gentle.
you know, I think that's a great.
But then again, you know, and I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're saying. I really do. I really appreciate everything you're saying to me right now. And I want to hear that. I want to internalize that. I want to take time to process that without judgment. I want to process that with judging myself, judging you. You know, that's what we're doing here. That's why we're having this conversation. This conversation. That's what this.
Well,
is.
I think that we.
Sneaking up behind me, I get it.
Well, you
You're just running off. No, it's cool. I can make a couple more points. Of which, come from your perspective. Because what I was hearing you say, some on the left, what I was hearing you say was that, you see that I'm a good listener. You know that I have a good point of view. And generally, that's correct because
Hey, Josie.
that's my line of.
You just play a little loud music.
And really what I want to say.
Oh, great job!
Yeah.
You did so great. That was so good. Great job. You did a great job. Good job. We had a great conversation.
Yeah.
That was great. Hey, actually, keep that going as we welcome back to the stage our guest, John Inazu. Come on back. Thank you so much. Okay, this is great. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Okay, so Matt sent around asking for questions from students beforehand, and so he already got a whole batch of different questions, and they're very good. Primarily, I believe these are almost all from students for you. So I'm going to try and go through as many of these as we can. So, very first question that somebody submitted was, how do you navigate disagreeing in an age of partisan echo chambers? How do you navigate in partisan echo chambers where you can be in a bubble where everything is kind of echoing the same thing?
Yeah, and you just think that you're right because everyone around you is agreeing. I mean, so part of this is, especially on social media, if 20 people like your post, that doesn't mean America agrees with you, right? So you've got to expand. The only way to do this is to get out of the echo chamber, diversify your news feeds, find different friends who can challenge you in different ways. And I think especially be worried about the groupthink that can follow. So, I mean, this was awesome what you all did. One of the points that stood out to me was the stomach pain scene and the illustration of performative empathy, right? Which is all about the groupthink, it's kind of like the pat on the back, we're with you, but you're not actually doing anything to help. I mean, it strikes me that the summer of 2020, the George Floyd moment led to a lot of performative empathy. And you saw institutions and people saying things because they saw the stomach pains and thought, oh, well, what can I do? And usually, empathy is a skill and the one-by-one thing works, but often if you want to respond to something with empathy, it's going to cost you something. So rather than just do the performative empathy, figure out what it's going to cost you and what you're going to do long-term to change the things that you don't like. And there's no shortcut to that. And the echo chamber is just destructive of this because it convinces you that you're all okay or you're all doing enough.
Do you have any way, I mean, that's a really important point. Do you have any way to reflect either for individuals or institutions, any way to check yourself? Am I doing performative empathy or am I doing real empathy?
I mean, a big part of this is what's the strategy, right? And it's okay. I mean, a lot of the work I do is around protests. I think protests can be amazing and they can be really important. They are often, especially on university campuses, they're often performative. So people who want to protest, I usually want to say, sometimes that's great, but also tell me the long-term strategy. If you care about changing this issue, then what does your coalition building plan look like? And also, the way that you're engaging with the people against whom you're protesting, if you need them as allies a year from now, then make sure you're not burning bridges, or if you are burning bridges, at least do it deliberately, as opposed to just sort of negligently. And so the strategy, which takes time, which is, back to the lawyer thing, it's also a lot of just boring work. To see long-term change is often outside of the cameras. It's often in the slow conversations and the relationship building that takes time and it can't be shortcut. So have a strategy and then commit to doing the strategy. And then this also means you can't solve all of the world's problems. So pick something you care about and get really good at addressing it.
Yeah, there's an old Representative Barney Frank quote that I think about a lot, and I'm not gonna get it perfectly right, but it's something along the lines of, if what you're doing feels really good, it's very likely you're not actually having that much impact. So I hear you on like the long-term work. Just one more piece on the echo chamber piece. When you say like try and diversify your news things, does that mean try and seek out, excise or get rid of the very partisan or seemingly one-sided things and try and find things that are like quote unquote objective or trying to tell multiple sides? Or does it mean purposefully like go and read the things that are coming at something from a totally the other side?
I think it depends. I mean, so first of all, there is no objective news, right? There's only
Fair.
news that is more or less careful than others. So find the careful sources, find the places that haven't fired all their editors, find the places that are still concerned with doing the best that they can, recognizing their biases, and those are out there. And then I think it's useful, it's really important to find, for your own feeds, to get sources that are covering perspectives from different ideological lenses, because you want to see how other people around you are reacting in real time. And then sometimes, I mean, stay away from the toxic partisan stuff unless, and this is the unless, if you're trying to convince your friend or your relative who's way over here that they're no longer with reality, or that they're so off base that they're harmful to themselves and others, then don't start with your preferred news source that they attach no credibility to. You might actually have to get a little bit into their lane and start to read some things that they trust to find arguments on their terms. So that's the work of translation. That's the only time I think you want to venture into the toxic stuff, when you have a strategy of using it to help soften a point you're trying to make.
That is so perfect. And maybe you feel like you've already answered this, because the very next question is like, how do you reach and communicate with people who are uninterested in listening to opposing points of view?
Yeah, I think I answered it. Let's move on. No, but the other thing I would say is, remember, like, this is back to like we're all human beings point. You have to. I talk to a lot of people, students and others, who say, I feel like I don't even know this person anymore.
Yeah.
And that's part of the, and the reason they think that is because they don't know this person anymore. Because maybe they grew up with a lot of shared experiences and shared beliefs and values, but over the last few years, they've been formed in different circumstances and read different news sources and have different friend groups. So step one is not trying to reach the other person to convince them of your point. It's reestablishing a relationship. It's doing ordinary things. It's taking the time to be a human being with that person. And you're only going to do that if you really care about the person and not just trying to win an argument.
So here, this is kind of, I feel like, a question that there's a version of this question in a lot of people's minds. I'm going to guess right now. So this person asked, what is the value of agreeing to disagree in a world where things like bodily autonomy, systemic oppression, and even freedom are on the line?
Yeah, so a couple things here. One, especially in a university college environment, be really precise with your claims and your descriptions of harms and costs. I mean, force each other in this time together to have arguments about policy. And when you find yourself like kind of boiling up and wanting to say, they're evil, or this is going to be the end of democracy, then interrogate the claims and say, really? Does democracy end the week after the election? No. I spent 4 years at the Pentagon. One reason I know democracy doesn't end is because everything moves way too slowly for anything to end overnight. So moderate and qualify your claims. And then the more precise you are, the more you can then really name the stakes. And sometimes the stakes are extremely high, but when they're the most high and the issues that are most complicated, you're not going to win them with a soundbite or an argument. These are the kinds of things that take years of strategy and coalition building. And so again, if this issue is the most important thing to you, tell me what you're going to do. What sacrifices are you going to make to try to change public opinion or run for office or whatever it is, and then know that that's going to take a lot of time and effort on your part. The things that matter the most are not quick fixes in our society.
Again, I feel like these actually go one into the other pretty well, because that coalition building you're talking about, or like trying to reach people, like you trying to get people to care about what you care about. So this person asks, like, well, okay, we've talked about we've already talked about like trying to reach somebody who's like on the opposite side, quote unquote, as you. This person wants to know, how do you reach somebody who just doesn't care like about this stuff at all? Which I will note, like if you look at surveys, is the majority of people like aren't following politics like on a day-to-day basis, like, probably aren't following the beats of some of these issues even that we're talking about necessarily on a day-to-day basis. So like somebody who you go and talk to and like, I don't really care that much about the news. Like what's the strategy for trying to reach them?
Yeah, I think, this is a mistake that, especially when those of us who spend our time in higher ed or in some of these places like journalism or politics, we start to think like everyone out there really cares about this stuff. And most people, like are interested in the new sports season or the Emmys or whatever it is. And so you have to like just be honest about how hard it is to break into people's perceptions and bandwidth. I mean, and then people like everyone's fighting their own battle. You've got family and friends and your job and things to like, there's not enough time in the day to just kind of ruminate on politics and political divides for a lot of people. So if this is something that fixates you and you think a lot of your time about, probably step one is realizing you're unlike most people around you. So what then will it take to convince other people? You can't do this at scale. I mean, if you really care, if you want your neighbors to care more about the local political election coming up or the school board or whatever it is, you're going to have to go person by person. This was kind of like what retail politics was, right? It took time, it took canvassing, it took coalition building and teamwork, and none of it was fast. And now we all just think like, if I can forward my tweet to all these people, they're going to agree with my position. And that's just not how
I mean, I have to, like, the man photo behind you, Gene McCarthy, like, right? His campaign was students, like, getting quote unquote clean for Gene and like going out to New Hampshire and going door to door, like, for him, like, and obviously there wasn't like Twitter and things like that, but that's the sort of like slow coalition building for things that you care about.
And people aren't stupid, right? They want to know, do you care about me as a person? Do you respect my beliefs, my intellect enough before you preach to me or tell me who I should vote for or what issue I should care about? Do you actually have the time to interact with me as a person? And if the answer is no, then just like move on to someone else, right? And which is why like we're not as individuals going to save the world or save the country. We need to kind of go person by person, relationship by relationship.
Do you have, this person wants to know, tips for de-escalating when something does get very heated and you end up in a place that is very hot or uncomfortable?
I feel like I need to call Lillian, my marriage counselor, for this one. Just like when when your body and when your mind has moved from an argument to something personal and visceral and emotional. And if you're there, it's seldom going to go well from that point forward. So sometimes, this is actually, again, like we were talking earlier, the beauty of the classroom and the opportunity to be on a college campus. You can take a break and you can like let it cool for a bit and then come back after you've thought about it some more. So take breaks, know when to end a conversation. Don't start a conversation when you're, sleepy and have nothing left in the tank. Make sure you've got time to engage. And when it gets past that point, give it a break and maybe just remind, especially if it's a relationship you care about, remind each other of something. By the way, I keep answering these questions thinking, what are they going to do? So, but remind each other of what you have in common and that your relationship is more than the sum total of this particular argument.
Okay, one more question here, and then I have a random other question I really want to try. But I'm going to ask you one last question from the students here. How, as a student, would you recommend navigating conversations about challenging issues with professors or other people in power, where there's a power dynamic differential?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to play this smart and you have to play it person by person, right? So you've got to figure out like who are the people who are going to engage with me. And sometimes, power is very tricky. I actually think that a lot of the things I talk about in this book are asymmetrical insofar as the people in power should have more empathy, more patience, more understanding because they have the power. But you also then should recognize that power is dynamic and sometimes power dynamics can shift very quickly. I recognize that usually in the teacher-student relationship, I have the position of power. In moments when I've been suddenly protested by a couple hundred students, I no longer am in power in that particular moment. And so power can shift quickly. By the way, that rarely happens because I'm a nice guy, but sometimes. And to recognize, from the student's perspective, when is it best to challenge forcefully? When is it best to just ask about a conversation? Some of the most helpful moments for me as a professor have been after I've taught a class when students have very respectfully and kindly come to me, not trying to call me out or, speak truth to power, but to say, you know what, professor, in that last class, we thought you insufficiently set up this issue. And would you think about how to, and it's been very helpful to me to hear that, in a mutually respectful environment. Probably would have been less effective if they, shouted out in the middle of the classroom. So I think to use prudence and do this kind of person by person rather than generalize for everyone.
And one of the things that you talk about in your book is, and again, maybe like pulling the veil back, we picked on professors a little bit in the front end, but professors like are human beings and frankly get scared like at times too, right? Like that's you're making a face at me, like don't let them know. Yeah.
I mean, right. I sometimes say that professors are people too, right? Like sometimes we were just having a bad day, right? And sometimes our minds are elsewhere or we screw things up. The first year I taught criminal law, I didn't really know criminal law, so I was kind of learning it like a day before the students. And I taught myself a case and taught it to myself exactly backwards. So when I got in front of the class, 80 students, I told them exactly the wrong doctrine, and they all knew it like within 5 minutes. And this was a 90-minute class, and I had nowhere to go because I'd planned the entire lesson around the opposite of the real doctrine. And so I just had there was nothing I could do. Like all I did was, some of you remember this when Ross Perot this was like an early 90s presidential election. He was the third party candidate and brought Admiral Stockdale on as his running mate.
I love
who was a little past his prime at the time. And during the vice presidential debate, in the middle of it, Stockdale just said, "Who am I and what am I doing?" And that's kind of what I said to my class. Like I don't even know why I'm here right now. But you can't do that over and over again, or you're just going to lose credibility. But once in a while, it's okay to make a mistake, own the mistake, and to move on.
Unfortunately, we are short on time, so I'm going to skip my question about the Reformation. And instead, I'm going to just and it's a different version of something. But do you have you talked about there is like a very tense, probably for a lot of people, like 8 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
But it is also something to think about in the long term. So if you were to just if there was one or two things that you would really encourage everybody to hold on to in terms of this work and what you're supposed to, how you can move through these next kind of 2 months and then beyond that, what would be the things you'd really want to make sure people write down, put in their pocket, and can pull out when they're feeling like it's really overwhelming?
Buy this book. Right? So, no, but I think the title of this book is Learning to Disagree, meaning this is an ongoing, never-ending activity. So you're not going to figure this out. You're going to keep screwing up. So give yourself some grace and give other people grace. And also, the next 8 weeks is not the right time frame to be thinking about. It could be very hard. You could have some tense conversations. But if you care about your community, your local community, this country, then count the cost of what it's going to take to be part of the solution, come up with a plan that's going to take months and years, and be part of trying to restore the social fabric rather than continuing the malaise that we're in.
On that note, can you all please help me one more time? Big round of applause. Dr. John Inazu, thank you so much. Thank you, John. Book Learning to Disagree. He's going to be signing copies, but before we go, we are going to turn the stage over one more time to the cast of the Theater of Public Policy. One more time, they are going to bring everything that we have talked about to life through entirely unscripted improv comedy. So please, one more time, a round of applause for the Theater of Public Policy.
Okay, we gotta go in there.
Yeah?
And we gotta talk to those people.
Yeah.
And we gotta use some tools.
All right, okay. Can't be more hard than our training has prepared us for.
Nope. I'm ready. They are regular folks.
All right, we just gotta listen to them, listen to their values.
Yep.
Look past any disagreements we have.
Yep. And listen with empathy.
Empathy.
And not worry about consensus.
No.
Because no. right? Like,
And the most important thing about this.
feels like we're asking just to have an argument.
Well, no, I mean, I was gonna say we're good people.
I don't know.
Because we're trying this, I mean, that's what's important.
You know what? I feel
It really
good
says something about
that
us.
we're just gonna try.
All right, yeah, I do too.
You know what? I feel great then.
All right. Right.
Okay.
Lockstep together, ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Hello.
Excuse me.
Hello.
Sorry, we couldn't but help it over here. Something that we disagree with.
We disagree. And we feel really good about saying that.
Yes. I'm sorry, I had no idea.
Tell me more.
Oh, you must have a lot of experience with that.
Oh, that sounds challenging and unfortunate.
Oh, this must have just come out. He's right over there. Wow.
Oh, look at that. I do.
Hey, sweetheart.
Hey,
You ready to go out there and say it for real?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? It's your wedding day.
I know. I've never married my emotions before, though. I've thought about it, and I try to let things go, but sometimes when I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm mad, and I want to talk to somebody about something, and I just want to let it... But... I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't marry my emotions.
No. I mean, do what you need to do. Would it help if I talked about how I married my emotions?
Did that work out for you? I mean, if you're married to it, how can you let it...
And then I divorced myself from my emotions completely. And I'm not saying it's better, but it makes me feel safer.
How could it possibly make you feel safer if, for example, you're really sad and you feel it and you put on some old, like, No Doubt, and you're like, don't speak. And you're just really feeling it, and you're in there, and then they try and make you feel better, and you're just like, no! This is how I feel right now. It feels wrong. I should let them in, right?
Yeah, I think that you should marry your emotions. And just because me and my emotions didn't work out because my rent is too damn high,
That's real.
that doesn't mean that you and your emotions can't work out. And I'm so excited and blessed that you have formed such a good relationship with... Oh, I said I wouldn't cry.
Don't cry. It's been so hard.
I know.
Do you know how painful
There's
it is?
no tears. I have no emotion.
I want to be there. It's like being gentle with myself or others. Like my sister, I had to be so gentle with her, but it made me so angry.
She makes us all angry.
And it was so painful.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to... But then... I wasn't married. I was just dating those emotions, you see? And I kind of let it go a little bit. And it kind of felt like I could be there for her and hear her, but I don't know. I
Keyword.
really wanted to...
You felt. That's what emotions do.
I did get to the other side, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like...
Good for you.
Yeah.
I couldn't reconcile that. I just cut them out, and now I look at my POS daughter and I go, eh. But you shouldn't do that, because that's your sister. The relationship is different.
So what you're saying is I could have a different experience depending on anybody I'm with. Like, it's like somatics. I need to be aware of like what's going on in my body when I'm dealing with like your stuff or anybody's stuff for that matter. Whether I
My stuff.
Well, we all have stuff. Even you, Derek. You definitely have stuff.
I don't like that you're calling your dear parent Derek.
Derek,
No,
Dad.
Dad, yes.
My point is, Dad, I'm not sure if I'm ready to be married. I want to feel. I want to feel. I want to feel diverse feelings. I want to have diverse conversations. I want to hear what other people have to say, even if it's stupid, even if it's really dumb. And I'm like, hey,
Heart, that is marriage.
whoa.
Yeah.
All right, I've got my protest tent all set up. I've got my PS5 and I've got my Wi-Fi hotspot. I could probably be here for a good 4 weeks. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh my, I just booked a room at the Hilton and I thought I'd just like be over there protesting in the hot tub.
You are so active.
Thank you. I'm an activist.
Yeah.
So I'm like
Wow.
at the Hilton because I'm upset.
You know what? That's really, really good.
Yes.
Hey,
Check out this swag.
Oh,
I love free stuff.
great.
Heck no.
Oh my
God.
Oh my
Awesome.
That is such a cute T-shirt.
T-shirts. Oh, and they
I got
so
one for
well.
everybody.
Oh, thank you so much. You know what? I ordered some pizzas and they're like gluten-free and dairy-free, and there's gonna be something for everyone because heck no, we won't go.
No, we won't.
We won't go to
Wait, you know
digestive
what?
problems
Do-
either.
Do you think no is too
Negative.
yeah?
Yeah, we don't want to stay in that spot.
Maybe we should say heck. We aren't sure.
Yes. Heck.
Heck.
Heck, 2 hecks?
Yeah, because one is kind of too
Heck.
individualistic, but heck is inclusive.
So we're like, heck.
Heck.
We're not sure.
We're not sure. I am so not sure.
I'm not sure.
I am the most not sure.
So not sure.
Are you not sure?
I'm definitely not sure.
You're in the right place to be not sure.
Absolutely.
Do you remember last week when Professor Chadwick said we should use our voices and really get out there and speak truth to power?
Yes.
Yes.
How do we do that? I feel motivated by that, but I'm also like not sure.
You're not sure. You're doing it.
That
You're not
you're
sure.
doing it. You are not. You are the most not sure of any of us.
You're our spokes not sure person.
What?
Because you're the most not sure.
Oh my God! You
What?
are so not sure.
I'm totally not sure.
You're the most not sure.
So okay with not being sure, and everyone should feel.
Do you know
unsure.
what you are not sure of? You are sure
no.
that you are not sure.
Whoa!
Oh, hey, that's my water. What's my water?
Going too far.
You're sure that you're not sure? We gotta get you on the podium.
No way.
Yeah.
Give me just like a minute and just get a plan together. We're gonna get
We
up
got a
there,
plan.
and
We
we're
got
gonna show everyone how unsure we are, and we're just gonna get out there and we're gonna take a risk, and we're gonna put our best feet forward because it's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow everything you say, I think.
And I'm gonna follow everything you say. I think I should think that I'm saying, and that you say is a good idea and that affirms. But I'm gonna go make some buttons.
Yeah, buttons are good. People love buttons.
But make sure you come back from the Hilton in tomorrow because the new season of Bridgerton's about to drop.
Oh, and we'll watch it here?
Yeah.
But I have a TV too.
Oh. Okay. Let's
know
go
what?
to your place.
You could just
Yeah.
come to
Okay.
the
All right. Okay.
protest.
All right, everyone's here. We can get started. We have a wonderful lecture today. Oh no.
Professor,
Oh,
has it happened again?
No.
Do you not know what you're teaching?
I do know what I'm teaching. Just need
Professor, we have the test subject in, all prepped for surgery.
Oh no.
All ready to go.
Oh
Professor,
no.
I thought this was an ethics class.
Yes.
Here's your tools.
Students, I have something I want to say.
He's okay.
Your professor needs a break. I have made a mistake. I just need a little breathing room. I need a little chance. Please do this for me. I need it right now.
Okay, and This incision here.
Just not yet. Don't cut into that person yet.
Professor,
Yes,
you need a break.
I need a break.
Before this surgery becomes a way.
Not to wash my
You are a human. Humans are often wrong, but you are a human, which means that you are motion strong. Professor, you need a break.
Thank you. I feel like you hear me. Let's not cut open this patient right now. Hey, wake up, wake up.
That was not very good
It's okay.
anesthesia.
We're not going to do anything right now. So I'm getting a break.
You're getting a break.
I'm getting a break.
He's getting a break.
You're getting a break.
Don't make a mistake. And I'm awake. For goodness sake.
Exactly. Right. Thank you there.
Hey, everybody, thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you. St. John, St. Friends, thank you to the McCarthy Center. Hey, tonight's cast has been
Alexis Camille.
Fred Chang.
Heather Meyer.
Brandon Boats.
Denzel Beelan.
I'm Tane Danger. Hey, Josie just is over here on
Josie.
the piano. And please keep that round of applause going one more time. John Inazu, give him a big round of applause. He is going to be signing copies of Learning to Disagree in the lobby right after this, so please get your copy. It's excellent. He will sign it. It'll be a collector's item. But first, thank you all so much. We appreciate you coming out so much. Thank you to our hosts, and I don't know if anybody else is doing anything, so we will see you at the book signing, and then, I don't know, probably like at the bar after that. All right, have a great night, everybody.